All right. So thank you so much for joining us today for OspreyHub 101. I'm Lauren Wilson. I'm the Associate Director of Student Development. And this is the first of many trainings that we have lined up for you this week for officer training. So I'm glad that you were able to join us today. I'm going to kind of walk through lots of different features of OspreyHub. I'm going to try to get through it all. But if you have questions as we're going through, we're a pretty small group today, so feel free to either unmute yourself and just ask your question, or you can go ahead and put your question in the chat and we will address it. All right, so involvement begins here. I'm sure that at this point you have seen that phrase or heard that phrase at some point, and it couldn't be more true for this year. This year, with everything going on with COVID-19 and the adjustments that we've had to make to the way that student organizations and fraternities and sororities are running, we are really living on OspreyHub. All of our organizations will be alive and well and running, but so much of what we do will truly start on OspreyHub. So it's more important than ever that we kind of take a nice deep look at what's going on in there, making sure that our organization's profile is up and running and looking the best that it can be, because this is how prospective students will find out about ways to get involved on campus and things to do. So just a quick overview. When you log into OspreyHub, this is the main page that appears. Lots of different features that you have access to. One of the important ones just from the main page is this one right up here called Forms. We are still updating some of our forms for the 2021 academic year, but like the travel form, if you're planning to do an off-campus trip, that will be located on under the forms. The virtual prize receipts, things like that, will be located right over there. You can search for organizations and upcoming events. You'll see the main alert. So whenever student development has something really important to share with you, we will have that posted front and center for you to see. Any organizations that you're involved with, you'll have the option to just kind of quickly click there and be able to access your organizations. Any events that you are RSVPing yes to will kind of come up here as, again, a shortcut for you to find what you're looking for. And then all of the events and news articles and things like that will appear below that. So real quick, up on the top corner, you will have the ability to click the little 3x3 grid next to your name, and that's where you'll be able to switch views. I don't believe that you have the admin view. That's for us, so I apologize for that screenshot, but you do have the option to switch back and forth between Explore and Manage. So Explore is pretty much the default view that everybody sees when they come in, and allows you to search for the different opportunities. And then Manage is where you need to go to manage all the different functions of your organization. So it takes you to something called the Action Center, and this is where you can take action on forms, event submissions, registrations, things like that. All right, so I'm going to kind of go through and give you all of the different options to managing your organization and highlight a lot of those different pieces that you have access to. And then we'll get into the specifics of how to add an event on OspreyHub, how to complete a purchase request. I'll kind of give you a quick overview on that. And then we'll go into some other details as well. So again, to manage your organization, you want to make sure that you're on that Manage tab when you log into OspreyHub. This Action Center provides you with a central hub to, again, approve different submissions, re-register your organization. This is where you'll be able to sign your organizations up for the Get Involved Fair. You can kind of create and manage all the content for your organization and easily see everything that you are a part of. All right, so when you click the three horizontal lines, which apparently is called the hamburger menu, you would have access to all of these different things. All right, so let's start with your roster. So when you click on roster, you will have the ability to invite people. So this is if you already have your list from last year of returning organization members, you can click on invite people and basically copy paste their Stockton emails into there and send everybody who was a member last year an invitation to rejoin this year. Another way that people can join is by finding your page and clicking the join button. So some of your members may have already done that. Some of your members from last year might still be, they may have forgotten to log on and do that. So feel free to invite them through email, or you can go and look at pending versus prospective. So pending shows all the members who have been invited to join but haven't yet accepted or declined. And then prospective is all of the new members who have just kind of stumbled upon your page and clicked the join organization button. So you'll want to click that, and if as you're accepting those people, maybe just reaching out to them to say, hey, thanks so much for your interest in joining our organization. Our next meeting is on Tuesday at 4:30, and here's the link to join. We're excited to have you. Especially this year when so much of our interaction is going to be virtual, make sure that you do whatever you can to kind of warmly welcome those new prospective members and make sure that they know how to get involved with your organization. All right, so one of the most common questions that we get in student development is like, I don't have access to the finance form, or I don't have access to do X, Y, and Z. So this is one of the first things to check. When you log into your roster, there's a button up at the top called Manage Positions. And this is basically your way to set the different access levels for each of your positions. So for example, when you click Manage Positions, you'll see that the treasurer position has all access to editing everything on OspreyHub. A general member may have no access, so they may appear as a member, but they don't have the ability to add events, manage your roster, submit purchase requests, things like that. So you're going to want to go through each of your positions and make sure that they're all set up so that maybe the president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer have all access. Or you could do limited access. So let's say that for your secretary, you really want to make sure that that person could add events, but you don't want them submitting purchase requests. Let's say that you only want your treasurer and your president to be able to submit purchase requests. If you click on limited access, you then have the ability to check off which pieces of OspreyHub they have access to and which pieces they wouldn't. And again, this is just for your organization. So somebody might be a president of another organization and have full access to editing things on that group. But then in this specific organization, maybe you only want them to be able to add events and post news articles, and that's it. So you really have the ability to manage those, the access levels there. Once you do that, you would go down on your roster and assign each person to their position. So just because you say that the treasurer has full access, let's say that Alexandra Long is the treasurer, you want to make sure that you click the edit link and you assign that person to whatever position they hold in your organization, and that will give them the access level that you are trying to grant them. Does that make sense to everybody? I'll assume yes. But if you have questions, like I said, we're a small group today, so please feel free to just chime in either through the chat or unmute yourself and ask questions as I'm going through.
Yeah, Lauren, can I do a quick reminder?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. It's Jeff, the director. Sorry to get a chance to introduce myself. I was having some 7th grade difficulties with my son here at home. But yeah, so it's important to remember that the access levels follow the titled position, so that if you give your treasurer access to events this year, and then your treasurer changes because you hold elections, next year's treasurer will get the same access. So it's highly possible that your access has already been set up by last year's president, and it might not be what you want, or it might be weird, or they might have forgotten to give the president any access whatsoever. So always go back and check to see what access levels are already set.
Great. All right, so one
Thanks,
of the
Lauren.
next things down on the hamburger menu is the About section. And so this is where you can provide a detailed description about your organization, and it's a great recruiting tool. Like I said, especially for this year when the virtual involvement fair will essentially be on OspreyHub, prospective members will be looking at your page more so now than ever before. So make sure that you have a nice detailed description that explains what your organization is about, what you do, but also remember that this information is available on the public view. And I say that just because I don't want you to disclose too much information. Zoom bombing, I feel like, is a real thing this year that has been happening in classes and in meetings kind of nationwide. And so, you know, it's okay to say we meet Tuesdays at 4:30, but don't post the Zoom link to your meeting in this public area. There's definitely other ways to add that as an event and kind of control the access of who sees that. So just remember that the About section, make it detailed in terms of describing what your organization does. There's even an ability now to put a YouTube link now. So if you have some kind of commercial that you want to film, that will automatically pop up too. You can go to the student development page if you want to see an example of what that looks like. But just be hesitant to include your Zoom links to your meetings in a spot where it's available to the entire public. Okay, so the event section, when you click the event tab on the menu, you'll see a whole long list of all of your upcoming events. You can change the status so that you can go and access your past events. And you have the ability to add your attendance, edit, delete events, things like that. I'm going to go through in a little bit to talk about how to create an event, but I want to kind of finish going through those options that are available on that side menu to kind of showcase everything that you can do through OspreyHub. So hang on to the events piece. We're going to get to that in just a minute. All right, so then news. This is another great promotional tool for your organization where you can create news articles. I wanted to highlight some of the news articles that have been shared in the past. Some organizations do this so well. They put it like a week, they highlight something new each week. So it might be a member of the week. It might be just kind of summarizing their past events and talking about the great community service initiatives that they've done. But it is a great way to just kind of, promote all of the wonderful things that you're doing, so that this way you're not just keeping that to yourself, but you're telling the world all of the great things that your organization has done. Super easy, title, summary, copy paste your your news article there. You can attach a photo, and then depending on your access level, you can make it public, or you can make it so that it's only viewable to students and staff at OspreyHub, or you can make it so that it's only viewable to members in your organization. If it is something that's public, you can go ahead and share that link to that article on all of your social media pages, so that this way you can share this great news through everyone who's following you on social media, even if they're not on OspreyHub. Gallery is another way that prospective members can kind of go to your page and visually see what you've done and what your organization is about. So this is the gallery for the Asian Student Alliance, who has really kept up with their galleries, their photos on OspreyHub. I know that so many people kind of dump their photos on Instagram and Facebook and create albums there, but make sure that some of those get transferred over to OspreyHub too, because especially when there are prospective students looking for the things that they want to get involved with, visually seeing what your organization is about will really kind of paint that picture of how they can get involved as well. So again, when you're creating your album, you can set it so that it's available for anybody in the public to see, or you can limit it so that people have to be logged in with their Stockton credentials in order to see, the photos of your event and your members and things like that. Documents. So OspreyHub is such a great way to kind of transition leadership from year to year. This year, I know it's a little bit harder because we don't have like the playbook for how things should be done this year. But in a typical non-COVID year, you can look back through documents, you can follow the meeting minutes, you can see if there's any kind of event planning documents or a list of maybe vendors that you use for an event. You can upload those to OspreyHub, so this way it sticks and stays with future e-boards to kind of go back and reference. So it's a great way to communicate with members. The documents stay on here from year to year. And again, with everything on OspreyHub, you have the ability to kind of set the access level so that maybe there's certain things that only the president of the organization can see, or maybe it's only the secretary and the president can see. So you can really go through and build this with whatever information you think would be useful for your e-board members to have or your members to have. So again, meeting minutes, especially this year when all of your meetings are going to be held virtually, it's a great way just to kind of stay organized and keep track of everything and make sure that your e-board in the future has that information available as well. All right, so forms is the next option as you go down that hamburger menu. And this, I feel like it is not well utilized, but has such potential for organizations. So if you are collecting, I mean, it's basically like almost like SurveyMonkey, where you can create a form to, whether it's for like a registration purpose. So if you want people to register for an event, or maybe like your virtual talent show, and you want them to be able to sign up to participate in your virtual talent show or your TED Talks or whatever event you're doing, you can create this and really add whatever kind of questions you want. So there's, you know, the text box, drop down list, lots of different options to create questions, just like you would do on SurveyMonkey or Google Forms and things like that. You can also use that just to collect information that you need from your members. You can use it for whatever it is that you want. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was gonna say, a couple of good ones I've seen the clubs do is nomination forms for an election.
Yep.
So what is your platform? Also, the photography club does it for its monthly photography contest. So when they submit a photograph, they submit it through this form. And don't forget, you can also set access levels to this. So the forms can be viewable by members or only by officers or by the public.
Yep. Great examples. All right, so elections. I know that that's hopefully is not on your mind right now, although I know that some elections in the spring didn't happen. So maybe your organization does this year need to get started and host elections for some open positions. This is something that I think a lot of people in the past would just kind of do the old-fashioned paper ballot elections at their meeting. But this is a really great way to reach all of your members, especially now that we're not gathering in a physical location where everybody can kind of, you know, hear from the candidates and cast their vote. So if you go into the elections tab, click create elections. Sorry, I'm looking back through this because I created our pet involved e-board elections last year, so I'm a little rusty on this. You basically only need to create one ballot for all your e-board positions. So there's an option here to create a ballot. Separate ballots are really only helpful if you're limiting who can vote for one position. So let's say that, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say
like
that
if
all of your
seniors vote for the senior award and juniors vote for the junior award.
Yeah, so typically that's not going to be the case with a student organization election. So just create one ballot and then you could have multiple positions. You can have your president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, all on that one ballot. All right, so when you are setting this up, and it's a little bit easier as you go through, I know the screenshots look a little bit confusing, but you could basically write down, you know, what position you are electing, you're designing it for. So this is the pet involved nap time coordinator. And then you can see the two lovely candidates that we have here. We have Rex and Trixie. And you can add photos to that as well. So if you go back in and edit, you can click that little photo icon. The one thing though is that they have to be uploaded to somewhere so that you can just dump the URL in there. So whether it's Google Photos, if you upload them in your gallery on OspreyHub, they need to be uploaded first and then you can link them to your election. Pet Involved Catering Cleanup Committee. I believe Bowser won that one. That's my dog. He could probably win nap time coordinator right now though as we speak. I'm surprised you can't hear him snore. Yeah, so OspreyHub has some great features to set up elections. Once your election is active, as soon as you go to your page, you'll see your members will see that bar across the bottom of the screen that says, yes, it's election time, don't forget to vote. Once your election is wrapped up, you can go back on the election tab and click over on results, and you can see the breakdown of who voted for, or how many votes each candidate got, what the breakdown was, what the percent is, things like that. So it really is a nice, easy way to track your elections. Community service hours, I'll be honest, I don't use this one frequently, but there is an option, especially if you are a service-based organization, to add in service hours so that you can track how many members or how many hours each of your members have contributed. And that's something that would go onto their Osprey Advantage co-curricular record as well. So again, most of this stuff, just kind of go and be comfortable with playing around and experimenting. You're not going to mess up a whole lot, I promise. And if you do mess it up or you think you messed it up, we can help you undo whatever you think you did wrong. Okay, so now let's go back to creating events in OspreyHub. And I've added some of the new features this year that have kind of, they're like hot off the press because of COVID. So when you go into your event tab, go ahead and click create event. And again, a lot of this stuff is self-explanatory. So go ahead and put your title, put your description. One of the new things now is that you can add an online location. So in the past, you could only add, you know, Campus Center Meeting Room 5, Lakeside Lodge. But now you can go ahead and click online location and this box will appear. You can go ahead and just put in your regular Zoom link, but I know that whenever you create Zoom, there's usually like the phone number to call in and a password and things like that. So if there's extra text that you need to put, go ahead and put it in this top bar or this top box, and then just your Zoom link at the bottom, and then hit save, and you should be good. If this is something that happens every week, so let's say that you're putting in your weekly meetings or your monthly virtual cooking class, you could go ahead and hit add another date. And then this way, the event title and description will stay the same, and you just need to go in and add in the dates and times of whenever your future meetings will happen. And then you'll still add in your Zoom link as well for any virtual meetings. All right, so event visibility. This is another important thing to remember this year, especially just because of the way that we're running events. There are some events that maybe you want available to the public, and you want to make sure that it's something that everybody has access to. But if it's something that that really should only be for Stockton students and staff, make sure that you are clicking that option on the drop-down box. That will help to kind of protect your Zoom link and make sure that that we're reducing the risk of having somebody Zoom bomb your event. I don't know that that's happened yet to any of our organizations, but I want to make sure that stays that way. There are lots of ways that students can find out about events. So they can go to stockton.edu/calendar and see all the different events that are happening. We have asked our event services team to make sure that they are only putting the link to our OspreyHub page and not the direct Zoom link on the campus calendar. This way, it will make sure that students or staff members are logging into OspreyHub and they sort of have those credentials before they can access your event. If you are just putting up your weekly meetings on here, that's totally fine. But when you do that, click organization members so that this way it's only showing up to members of the psychology club. It's only showing up to members of SET, because we really want to make sure that when students are logging into OspreyHub and they're looking at the event feed, that they can see a good mixture of the true events that are going on. I don't want it to be, I don't want to say junked up, but I don't want it to be junked up with club meetings so that it makes it even harder for them to find the actual events that are happening. So if you're putting in your club meetings, click organization members. Mostly everything else you can do students and staff at OspreyHub. I think that's it for this. Oh, so one of the newer things that you can do on here now is there's RSVPs. So if you are offering food at your event, maybe you want to ask your attendees if there's any food allergies, or maybe you want to know what their t-shirt size is if you're giving t-shirts out at your event. So there are different ways that you can customize RSVP. You can also make it so that there's no questions at all. But if it's something that you're looking to get information from the people who are attending your event, then it's a great perk for you to look into. Let's do that. Oops, sorry.
Lauren, real quick, can I mention?
Sure.
I just want to mention that I know a lot of you might be doing some very limited space events. You know, if you only have 25 seats in a room because that's the max capacity, thanks to social distancing rules, the RSVP is a great way to kind of monitor who will be in the room, and then also obviously sending out a link to those that can't make it.
Yeah, definitely. So then after you get through RSVP, you have the option to upload an event cover photo. And I would definitely encourage you to put something there, because otherwise the stock photo that OspreyHub would like to plug in there is what gets put in there, and it's nothing specific to your organization. Oops. All right, well, I'll get back to that in a second because I have other slides about that. One of the other new features now is this post-event feedback. And so there is an option for for you to capture your virtual attendance. And anybody who attends your event will automatically be sent this feedback survey after your event. So this way they can rate, 1 star to 5 star. And then if you have specific questions, what did you learn from this event? What would you do in the future to improve it? Those are all options that you can now ask the people who have attended your event so that you can collect that feedback from them. So you can click this box at the top that says automatically send post-event feedback notification after event. And this way, anybody who attends your event will automatically get that feedback. Again, you can add different questions, text, multiple choice, a checkbox thing, lots of different options. And again, that's a new feature. All right, so now, sorry, going back to adding the photo. When you add a photo, it's really important to just kind of keep it simple. If you design your photo in PowerPoint as like a landscape image, that is almost the right size for adding it into OspreyHub. So if you, just make sure that you leave a nice big border, because again, going back here, you'll have to crop it down just a little bit. So you want to make sure that you're not filling this with text from like corner to corner, because you will have to crop a little bit. Keep it simple, because when you go and add this image to OspreyHub, you don't have to put on the date and time and location, because it's all right here below and in the actual event listing. So it's not like a flyer that you're going to hang on campus that you need to explain everything about your organization. The most important thing is probably the title of your event, and that's it. Everything else people can get by clicking into your event listing and reading all about what you're doing. If you need some places to go to get stock photos, I think it's called unsplashed.com has some really great ones, and compfight.com also has some great ones. So I'll go ahead and put those links in the chat in just a few minutes. But really just keep it simple, keep a large border so that when you go down to crop it in OspreyHub, it will be as optimal as possible. All right, so then once you go through that, there are lots of other options to click so that we can get all of the information that we need for an event. Jeff and I are probably going to be editing some of this, because we might need to add virtual events as one of these instead of on campus. Like I'm already thinking about all the things that, that we need to do.
We really totally should do that.
Yeah, because a lot of our on-campus event questions are truly for like physical in-person events where we might not need all of that information for a virtual event. So I did a screenshot of what it looks like now, but know that some of this might change. It's all self-explanatory though. So basically you just click anything that applies for your event information and just answer the questions that are being asked. And so this is so that we can kind of help you plan and that we know kind of what follow-up questions, if there's contracts that we need to work on with you, if there's like a certificate of insurance that we need to get for one of our vendors, things like that. It really gives your advisors all of the information that we need so that we can best support you and kind of guide you through the rest of the event planning process. So again, these are just some screenshots of some of the questions that we asked. I'm not going to go through this line by line because it all pretty is self-explanatory. Same thing with like fundraising. We just want to know kind of where you're looking to donate to, what your fundraising goal is, also that we can help you plan the rest of your event. All right, so another kind of new fun thing on OspreyHub, when you are done creating your event, if you go back into like manage your event, you click, you want to kind of review all of the different things that, the different pieces of information that you put in there. If you are collecting attendance at an in-person event, the most important thing to collect is their Stockton email address. So you can go in, hit track attendance, add attendance, and go ahead and dump the full list of Stockton email addresses in there. And if it's an educational or service-related event, that means that that event attendance will automatically appear on a student's co-curricular transcript. The other thing is the attendance URL. And so I'm actually going to go in and kind of role model for you what that looks like. Hold on one second. I thought that I had it up and running. So I am going to put this link in our chat. And if all of you could just go ahead and click it, hang on one second, I'm getting there. So if you can click that, make sure that you're logged into OspreyHub, then that will automatically mark you as having attended this event. This is a great way for you to be able to follow up with just the people who are coming to your event. While I'm here and I'm moving onto my screen, I will put those links for unsplash.com is a great photo, it's a great way to find stock photos. And then CompFight is another one where it's mostly free. There are some options that you'd have to pay for those photos, but for the most part, you can almost always find some free options there. All right, are there any questions as I'm going through this? I feel like I'm flying through. If you do have questions, please drop them in the chat or unmute and feel free to just ask away. Otherwise, I will keep plowing through.
Lauren, let me put in a plug for something that you mentioned pretty briefly. If any of the club and organizations are out there are doing an educational event and you're having some sort of guest speaker or conversation led by the faculty, we really want to make sure that those appear on the co-curricular record. So, you know, make sure that you talk to your student dev advisor to make sure that that happens, because we really do value the education experience that's happening out there, and we want to make sure that it's being tracked and getting onto your records. You know, the co-curricular record is not something, I know we're going to talk about in a minute. It's not something you're going to print out and hand to your, you know, future employer and get a job, but it's a great way to reflect. So, you know, even some of the smaller educational experiences where you might not think are as valuable, we really want to make sure we're capturing.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. All right. Oh, so then this is kind of where you can see your post-event feedback as well. So this was from one of our summer training sessions. You can see that we have 3 5-star ratings. Congratulations, Jeff. I think this is your session. But you can also export the feedback so that this way, if you are asking.
I love that 3 whole people liked it.
Listen,
I think on Amazon nobody would buy because of 3 of
100% 5 stars. We
it's
don't
like my
need to know that it's only
podcast.
3.
Not a whole lot of people listen, but those who listen really love it.
They love it, 100%. So you can also click export feedback, and this is where you can see all of the answers to your questions. If it was like, what was the greatest thing about Jeff's summer training series? You can read why all 3 people loved it. And if there's any feedback for him on things that he could do to improve, you can really see all the answers to those questions. So fun new tool. All right, so I'm going to really briefly talk about OspreyHub Finance and just kind of how to access some of those tools. But we have a whole other session dedicated to talking about financial procedures, and that's going to be this Wednesday at either 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. So you can go to either one. Both sessions will be exactly the same. But I did want to kind of talk just very briefly about how to access the finance piece, how to submit a purchase request, things like that. So if you were not new to OspreyHub and you've logged back in, you'll see that it looks a little bit different this year. They changed the layout, but in a way that I think is actually a little bit easier to follow. So when you log into your finance tab and click create request, a purchase request is when you're using your own money, meaning your club's money. So if you're using your club budget, you'll go ahead and hit purchase request. Or if you're using your revenue, is a purchase request. A funding request is when you are asking Student Senate for additional money to help support your event. So that's the difference between the 2 of them. Purchase request means you already have the money in one of your accounts. Funding request is you need the money and you're asking for financial support from the Senate. If you click on accounts, that's where you'll see the breakdown of how much money you have in your club account and how much money you have in your revenue. All right, so when you click on create a purchase request, again, it's all pretty self-explanatory. For categories, there's going to be a ton of different things in that drop-down box. Choose the one that fits best. There's going to be some times where it's like, wow, well, it's event supplies, but it's also apparel because we're doing a tie-dye event. just pick the one that you feel is most accurate, most accurately describes what your purchase is. A lot of times there will be some overlap, but you can only choose one per category. For account, that's when you can select either your club budget or your revenue. Club budget is the money that Student Senate allocates to your club for the year. Revenue is fundraised money that carries over from year to year. I would say most of the time you'll want to use your club budget because, again, that's money that kind of expires or goes away in June once the fiscal year ends, whereas your revenue carries over. But there are some things that you can only use your revenue for. And again, the finance session on Wednesday will go into a lot more detail on this. But in a nutshell, if you're making a donation to a nonprofit organization, that would come from your revenue. If you're buying gifts, graduation stoles, cords, things like that for your members, any kind of gift would come from revenue as well. Payee information is not the person who's submitting the form. Payee is who is getting paid, who you're writing the check to, who is getting this money. So it might be Chartwell's, it might be Amazon, it might be your guest speaker. It is not you. I feel like that's one of like the most common mistakes that organizations make when they are filling these out, is that they write themselves in here, but it's who is getting the payment. In the additional information, if you are looking to reserve a credit card, which this is another process that might change a little bit this year, just because our financial process is it's a little more cumbersome on our end this year, just because we have to get approval from many more people than we've had to in the past, just because of COVID and because of our financial situation and just the new spending regulations that the university has. So we are going to need some more time than we have last year if you are looking to take a credit card to a store. And Jeff, maybe we can talk about that later and figure out exactly what that timeline looks like. But if you're looking to order things from Amazon, we'll take care of that for you. You can just put credit card online transaction. You know, any web-based thing that you're ordering from, you can just go ahead, add everything to your cart, take a screenshot of it, put it into like a Word document or something, and you can upload all of that here as your backup documentation. If you are getting t-shirts or promotional items, you can go ahead and again upload the invoice or the quote that you've received. If you are working with a guest speaker and it's the first time that you've utilized that person, we'll need you to upload a W-9 form. That's something that is a standard form nationwide. And so if it's something that that person doesn't yet have, they can quickly Google it and fill out the form that's available there. Okay, so I think that covers kind of the basics. The last thing I wanted to kind of run through was the user drawer that I feel like a lot of people might just ignore because it doesn't have anything to do with your organization really. But this is the part where it's helpful for you as a student to know all of these different things. When you click on your profile picture, all the different things that you have access to. So event history, when you click on that, you can see all of the different events that you've attended. The cool thing is that you can add in reflections, and this is not anything that's going to be graded by a professor or reviewed by our team. This is really for you. So after you attend certain things, if you wanted to just go back and quickly jot down the things that you learned at that event, or maybe there was some, maybe you saw a really great speaker at the Day of Leadership or at Constitution Day, and you wanted to quickly jot down what that speaker's name was and maybe 2 or 3 of like the main points that you learned from that event. It will be helpful later when you're going back and looking at all the different things that you were involved with and the things that you did on campus, and be able to kind of pull those experiences together when you're applying for jobs or going on, you know, your internship interview and things like that. So it might seem like a lot of work right now, but it really is great to have those extra notes in here for when you need them. So same thing with my memberships. So you can go through, you'll see that, okay, I was a part of the Asian Student Alliance, and I was a member from January through March, and I could quickly write in there, each month I plan 1 large-scale cultural event and 1 discussion group focused on current events and personal development. I also led weekly meetings for 20 active members. And then in my role as advisor, these were the other things that I did. So again, it's really helpful when you kind of just quickly jot this stuff down. Like I said, no one's going to be checking it for you. This isn't part of your like permanent record. It's really just to help you. And so when it comes time to build your resume or enhance your resume, and it might not be until like a year from now that you're working on it, but you can look back and be like, oh yeah, I forgot that I was on that committee my sophomore year that did X, Y, and Z. And so if you have a few minutes and you just want to go in and jot some notes down, it will be really helpful for you in the future. My experiences. So this is something where OspreyHub automatically captures your event attendance, your membership in student organizations, but there's other things that we know you do that we might not have the data for. And so you can now go in and add, if there's an award that you won, if there's a conference that you attended, if there's something off campus that you were involved with, maybe you volunteer at the the local animal shelter, and that's not something that we would have any information about. You can go ahead and add in all of those extra things, and then on our end, we'll see when those come through and we'll go ahead and approve them. So this way that can also be captured on your co-curricular record. Service hours, again, you can go ahead and track all the different community service projects and the hours that you have put in. So this way you can see how they start to add up. And then this is the culmination of all of the things that you're involved with on campus. So Osprey Advantage is your co-curricular record. It provides a place where you can document all of your out of the classroom experiences. So again, your academic transcript keeps track of your grades and your honors and things like that. And then Osprey Advantage keeps track of all the other things you do outside of the classroom. It will give you an opportunity to kind of, like Jeff had mentioned before, you're not going to attach this to your job application or your grad school application, but it is a fantastic tool to utilize when you're sitting down and starting to apply for grad school or put together your internship applications. The out of the classroom experiences really give you so many, I don't want to say more practical skills, but I guess I could say that. It gives you more hands-on skills than what you are getting in the classroom. The classroom, you're learning the theories, the content, all of those different things. But when you're involved with the student organization, that's when you learn the real life, how to plan an event, how to budget, how to manage a group of people. There's so many additional skills that you get that, it would, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't include that on your resume, because that's where you're getting so much of your real life experience. You can customize your Osprey Advantage, so you can hide certain experiences, you can add in certain experiences, you can reorganize and change the layout of how it looks. But again, Osprey Advantage is really only for you. Nobody else is really taking a look at it. It's really a tool that is just for you. So like I said, make the most of your Osprey Advantage record, add your reflection so that this way that would pop up for you as kind of your cheat sheet of just everything that you've done. Add your self-reported experiences. You can use the print view or the PDF view for the nice clean copy. So if there's, let's say that one of your professors is going to give you extra credit if you attend so many events, or if you are involved with a certain type of experience, you can go ahead and use the print view or PDF and just save that and send it over to your professor as proof that you did something or attended something. What else do we have? Osprey Advantage shows your existing experiences, but like I said, you can add experiences using any of these options on the user drawer. The last thing on the menu when you click your profile picture is My Submissions. And this is where you can see all the different forms that you've submitted. You can see what things are in progress, which things are pending or have been received, which things are approved or denied. So if you're ever wondering like, oh, I thought that I submitted something, but I'm not sure kind of where we're at with that, you can just go down to My Submissions and you can see everything there. All right, so that kind of wraps up our OspreyHub 101, and I feel like I really plowed through quite a bit of stuff. What questions do you all have? Are there things, was this helpful? Did this help to answer your questions about how to utilize different features on OspreyHub? Are there things that you want me to kind of go back through and explain, or even just get out of PowerPoint and I could show you kind of in real life how to navigate back to certain things?
This was really helpful. I had no idea OspreyHub had so many different things we could do in it. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. I'm glad it was helpful for you.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that as Lauren and I were talking earlier, we said we need to really get people to understand how powerful it is and get them to play inside of OspreyHub, because the deeper you get, the more things you find, and you really can figure everything out. It looks confusing, but once you start clicking around, it gets very natural.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, definitely poke around in there and play. I feel like when I was trying to figure out the elections, again, it's like I started with something that, you know, wasn't very critical. I didn't start with our e-board elections. I started with, let's do our pet involved elections and just do something fun, just so this way I can practice and set up what a fake election would look like. And by doing that, I figured out, okay, I don't need to create a separate ballot for each position. It's one ballot that I can add several positions to. And then even with like the options on like the form or the ways to answer questions, read them carefully, because it's like, there's one that's, I think, like a radio button where it only allows you to select one option. And then there's another one, it might just be called checkbox, where you can select multiple things. So
checkbox multiple.
Yeah, so just be careful with which ones you choose, because I think the first time that I created an election, I did the checkbox thinking, oh yeah, you just check one. But no, they could vote for multiple candidates by doing that. So I mean, a question like that would work if it's like, we're trying to figure out what days of the week work for meetings. Check all of the dates that would work for you: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I mean,
it also has like ranked voting, and like the ability to put in write-ins and things. The election tool is extremely powerful, or really basic, depending on how you run your elections.
Right. What kind of pizza do you want for our next meeting? Cheese, pepperoni, or pineapple and ham? So, I mean, definitely just play around in there, because there are so many different things that you can do. And like I said, you're not going to mess up too much stuff. And if you think that you messed something up, just reach out to your advisor and we can help you undo whatever it is that you think you did. Any other questions or things that you're like, oh, can you go back and show us how to do this again? All right, we're pretty quiet, so I'm going to assume that would be a no, but know that we are available to help you with any questions that you have. Every day this week, we're doing an advisor Ask Me Anything hour from 12 to 1. So we'll be on there. You know, it's not like, oh, the professor didn't show 15 minutes in, so we're going to log off now. We'll be on there for that full hour. So even if you have class that gets done at like 12:40 or something like that, pop on whenever you want to during that hour, and you can quickly ask us whatever questions you have. A few last announcements. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you register and sign up for the virtual Get Involved Fair. As soon as you log on to OspreyHub and click your organization and click Manage Organization, the registration links will appear right there. It basically is super simple. It asks you for a description of your club, and it asks you for a Zoom link to use if you are able and willing to do a live chat with your prospective members. If you're not, that's okay. You can still be a part of the fair. It basically just means that a prospective member, when they see something that they're interested in, instead of hitting Meet Live, they would hit Contact, and it would send you an email through OspreyHub letting you know what their question is. And then last, we have University Weekend to Go, which is happening October 8th through 11th. We are still actively collecting any virtual program ideas that your organization would be interested in hosting. They could be live meetings that you're doing, not meetings, but live events where maybe you're doing like a tour or a demonstration, or you're talking about something really awesome that your organization has done. Or you could do a pre-recorded video. So let's say that you're doing like a talent show or a dance showcase. of your members. You can kind of piece that together, and then we will launch it at a certain time. So there's lots of options to be, you know, we're flexible with the style of program, but we are still looking for some events to utilize and incorporate into our weekend. So if you have something in mind, definitely reach out to me and let me know. So I think that that wraps up the session for today. So as long as there are no other questions, thanks so much for coming in today. I'm glad that you were able to get some stuff out of this. All right, so hope to see you at some of our other training sessions. I know up next for today, starting in a few more minutes, is running an engaging virtual meeting. So I will make sure that I stick to my time frame and log off now so that you are able to go and participate in that one if your schedule allows you to do so. So thank you again for coming, and I will talk with you all soon.